Alright everyone, welcome to today's godcast, which deals with solving equations. So this is by far the trickier of the situations when we're talking about algebra. And there's a number of different situations that we can use to solve these equations. So we're going to touch upon three of them. Two of them are stated in your textbook, one of them is not. Ironically enough, the one that's not in there is the one that I sort of consider to be the easiest one. Alright, so without further ado, we're going to give this a try. The first way that we solve equations are called by inspection. So in this situation, it's something where we know just by looking at the equation what the variable equals. So the equation that we're going to deal with in this situation is 4x minus 1 equals 15. Okay? So what we have to do is we have to sort of put this into words for ourselves. So it's 4 times a number decreased by 1 equals 15. So we have to ask ourselves, first of all, what number subtract 1 is going to be 15? Okay, well, there's really only one we can use. 16 minus 1 is going to be 15. So we have to now look at this right here and ask ourselves, okay, well, what times 4 is going to equal 16? We automatically know, because we know our times tables very well, that x equals 4. Okay, 4 times 4 equals 16. Now it's just like an algebraic expression, and all we have to do is substitute 4 anywhere where we see an x in our original question, and that will let us know if we have the right answer. So if we do that, again, we're substituting 4 for where we see x, minus 1 equals 15. Now we're using our bedmass rules here, okay? And bedmass tells us that we have to do the multiplication before we do anything. So 4 times 4 equals 16, subtract 1 equals 15. Now we can do this, 16 minus 1 we know equals 15, so we know that we have the right answer. So x does indeed equal 4. Alright, so that's the first method. That again is called by inspection. And it's for simpler questions where you can just sort of look at the equation and know what it equals. The next one is called by systematic trial, and it's essentially just guessing. Alright, so we're going to look at the equation 5x equals 50. Okay? Now in this situation, we would sort of ask ourselves, okay, what multiplied by 5 does equal 50? We may not know that because we don't know our times tables that well, even though we're in grade 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a series of trial and error and just give it a try. So first thing we're going to do, we know what 5 times 6 equals, so we're going to make the guess that x equals 6. And then we're just going to sort of play it out in an algebraic expression. So we're going to go 5, we're going to substitute a 6 for where we see the x, and we know that that equals 30. Well, we want our expression to equal 50, so we know that 6 is too low, so we have to go a bit higher than that. Okay? So we're going to try something a bit higher. We're going to try 9. So we're going to say that x equals 9. Multiply that out. We have our calculator, we multiply 5 times 9, and we know it actually equals 45. So we know that it can't equal 9 either. We know that we need 5 more. So that pretty much lands us at our right answer. We know it's 1 higher than 9, so we say x equals 10. And we multiply that out, and we find that x indeed does equal 50. Okay? So that's by systematic trial. The last way, again, is not in your textbook, but it's the one that I find to be the most effective, and it's what I call solving equations by elimination. So we're going to go back to that original equation where we knew what x equaled. So 4x minus 1 equals 15. Now what we really need to know here is what the opposite of all of our operations are. And so we're just going to take a look at these over the side. So if we have addition, we know the opposite of it is subtraction. If we have multiplication, then we know the opposite of it is division, and vice versa. Okay, so we're going to use that information to solve this. What we need to do basically is we need to get the x all by itself. We want it all by itself on one side of the equal sign. And we do that by recognizing what our opposite operations are. So the first thing we want to get rid of is this -1, okay? So we're going to work at getting that out of there. So we ask ourselves, well, what's the opposite of -1? It's, of course, +1. We learned that in integers. So we can just add +1 to that side. So it went from 4x minus 1 to 4x minus 1 plus 1. Here's where the trick comes in. This is just like working with fractions. It's just like working with integers. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So on this side, we added 1, so we also have to add 1 on that side. Okay? We know what 0 pairs are, so we know that this -1 and this +1 cancel each other out. So we're left with 4x on that side. And we know that 15 plus 1 is 16. So we're left with 16 on that side. So what we have now is we have 4 times x, and we have a 16. So again, we ask ourselves, what is the opposite of multiplication? Well, we know it's division, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to divide 4x by 4. What we do to one side, we also have to do to the other. So we're going to divide 16 by 4. These two 4's cancel each other out. So x is now left on its own. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So we now know that x equals 4. And again, if we wanted to, we could check our answer. We remember, because we just figured it out, that x equals 4. And we're going to multiply it out. We did this in the first way. 4 times 4 is 16 minus 1, which does indeed equal 15. Okay? So it's a trickier way, but it's a much more effective way, and you're much more likely to get to the right answer. That's all. Let's take a look at what we learned today. Okay, so we looked at a few things today in terms of equations. First of all, we looked at 3 methods of solving the equations. So you recall that 2 of them were in the textbook. One of them I just sort of taught you on my own. So the first one was solving equations by inspection, and that's for relatively simple questions where you can just sort of look at it and know what the variable equals. So for example, x plus 3 equals 7. You can look at that and know that x stands for 4. Okay, so you would just write x plus 4, and you would be done with it. The second one, which I'm really not too much of a fan of, is called solving by systematic trial. And it's just trial and error. So it's a situation where you may not necessarily know exactly what the answer is. So you take a series of guesses until you get closer and closer, and you continually adjust your answer to try to figure out what the right one is. It works. Like I said, it's definitely not my favorite, though. It's a bit tricky at times and it can take a while. The last one I find the easiest, and it's what I call solving by elimination. And all you're doing is you're isolating the variable. So you need to remember what the opposite of each operation is. So plus is minus, multiplication is division. And also remember what you do to one side of the equation, you always have to do to the other. Otherwise, it's not going to turn out the right way. Like I said, that works in every situation, so I find that the easiest. As always, if you have any questions, I do not want you to struggle. Don't always, depend on your friends for having the right answer. You'll want to ask me if you have any questions whatsoever. That is what I'm here for. So please do not hesitate to do so. Other than that, hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Later days.